I'm on cow patrol today. It looks like these are my brothers. They're about half done calving. But he wanted me to take a check on them today. Got one that keeps rubbing his damn head on the vehicle. But just wanted to check and make sure everything's okay. There's a couple of them I want to take a closer look at, though. But most of them come over, they were confused. That one over there is one of them. I think she has a calf, and I think it's laying along the fence there. It's my guess, because when I came, first thing she did, she took off that direction. Usually what happens if, well, and I thought it is a new one, that one right straight ahead. But he's up and doing fine. But there's a couple along the river there I want to check. But everybody seems to be doing fine. But I'm suspicious of that one that she walked off right away. And there's a fence along there, but them little calves, they go under the fence without even thinking about it. I'll keep an eye on her. But what happens is, when he tags them, after that for 2 or 3 days, you don't get close to the calf again. The cow is concerned. Yeah, she's bellowing like she's got one over there. I see a turkey right by her, but that don't matter. But if they get, let them get like a week old, you got a hell of a time to tag them. But like I say, usually after you tag them, then the mother will keep them hid for a couple, 3 days. You don't like you messing with them. But it's the only way to keep track of them. So I'm going to get the number off that one. Because the calf does not have a tag on it. But he's feeding out here, calving them out in the open. It makes it a lot easier to keep an eye on them. Well, okay, I was going to say, I haven't done a video for a couple of weeks. Well, since the first of the month, I guess. Really, I have lost interest in YouTube. And things are just too crazy now. There's just too much going on at the same time. And I don't think it's a good idea to be on social media, so I've just been laying low. I got plenty to do to keep me occupied. Yeah, there's one walking over there I'll have to keep an eye on. I'll make a swing around before I go. But it's just chaos. And it's funny because people, they like to pretend that this is some great, 4D chess move. I think it's just haphazard, random chaos. Like this whole deal with Ukraine. It's funny, what it reminds me of is back in the early days of volunteer fire departments. It was a kind of a shaky deal. There was different competing fire departments, because this was a very profitable thing to be in, the firefighting business, because they really weren't fighting fires. In fact, a lot of these fires had a kind of a suspicious origin. But what would happen, somebody's business would catch on fire, and these fire departments, these volunteer units, would come to the rescue. Really what they would do is steal everything that wasn't nailed down. It was a racket. They'd actually get into battles with competing fire departments over who could get in there first and get the good stuff. Any jewelry, anything loose of value would disappear. That's what it reminds me of in Ukraine here. Like we started that fire. That was all us, and now we're trying to come in and mediate this? How does that make any sense? At the same time, we want to take every mineral, everything we can get, try to squeeze out of them. But to play the good guy in this, it's just insane. But it reminds me of those fire departments. That was back before it was organized. They were just gangs, is what it was. Yeah, a battle royale going on. And another one wants to get involved. The poor guy better get the hell out of there. But it's another thing that bugs me, which you're not supposed to bring up, like we're hesitating on this Iran thing. Some of them want to go in there. Some of them know better. This ain't going to be a walk in the park. You look what they're struggling in Yemen, trying to keep them Houthis under control, which is funny because by the mandates of the UN, the Houthis are doing the right thing, trying to prohibit shipping, blockading the shipping from getting to Israel. They're perfectly within their rights to do this, but we don't like that at all because Israel doesn't like it. So we got to go along with it. But if you look at the articles of the UN, it was to keep this genocide kind of thing from happening. If they were supposed to avoid this at all costs, and if something like this, you're supposed to go to every extreme we could to put an end to it. Well, that's exactly what the Houthis are doing. But we've been blockading Yemen for a long time. I mean, years. Bomb them randomly, just doing our normal thing when we think we got a little country we can bully around. And we don't like it because they fight back. Get all upset. But by the UN mandate, they are doing what they're supposed to be doing. What we should be doing. We should be blockading Israel. But no. We're promoting this whole damn thing. But you're not supposed to notice that. And like I say, social media isn't the place to be. Your freedom of speech is disappearing very quickly. I don't like it. But like I say, I can just walk away from it. I don't have much interest in it anymore. Well, I better get that call's number and try to figure out what that one is. She keeps looking over there like she's got a cap over there someplace. And there's a couple laying down over there to check on. Then I can get back to my gardening. But I told them I'd check on them today. So that is what I have done. Just got to make a swing around. Luckily, it's dry enough. Because this can get pretty soft out here. There's springs underneath, but these cows have got her packed down. In fact, she's going to be a kind of a bugger plowing. But a lot of times when we plow this in here, it's so soft you can get stuck quite easily. But I think I can make the swing. I'm not too concerned. But I do have to get her number. And that far one. But everybody seems to be up and around. There's a couple laying by the hay over there I want to take a closer look at, but he's probably well over half done. I think he's got about 60 cows. And I see about 30 calves are all laying out in the cornfield. It's funny, them calves, they lay around, and then all of a sudden they start getting spunky and tear around. And this ain't exactly good ground to be tearing around on, but they will tear. Then they get tuckered out and they all lay down again. They got a lot of energy, though, at certain times. But I think it's going pretty good for them so far this year. You know, the weather hasn't been too bad. And the grass is starting to come, even in here. So it won't be too long they can be out on the pasture. But I thought I'd better make a video. Otherwise people start suspecting I'm dead. I'm not dead. I'm doing quite well. And making big inroads on the garden. But I'm going to make a trip on a bike this afternoon, so I thought I'd get this checking over with. And then go back to gardening again this evening. But do not be concerned if you don't hear from me. I'm just not happy with the way things are going in the general world out there. It's funny, you know, and then Europe is getting nutty. England is really getting nutty. But it's funny, you know, it was Marshal Zhukov that had said that we have delivered Europe from fascism, and they will never forgive us for it. It is very true. There's a strong streak of Nazism that still persists in Europe. And what's going to happen, you know, we've turned Ukraine into a terrorist state. And if they shut Ukraine down, where are all these Nazis going to go? All over Europe. And they will find welcome. Like them crazy Baltic countries. But there's a strong streak of National Socialism in those European countries. Well, you listen to the people from the EU talking, you think, my God, they'd have been right in there with Hitler. Well, a lot of them, their grandfathers were ardent Nazis. And the apple didn't fall far from the tree.